Well, right. If you're a woman mad about women not being paid more, then you go to the women's basketball games, go to watch the women's soccer games. Does anyone want to do that? No. If you're not generating the revenue because watching women play sports, I'm sorry, is boring as fuck, you're not going to get paid as much. Welcome back. It's Turkey Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, Turkey Tots. Ooh, your queen mug.
I have my queen mug thanks to my brother Connor from years ago. I got this for Christmas. I don't know how this became a joke. I think it's because I was in charge of them growing up, but I bossed them around a lot, and I think he started trolling me by saying, "Yes, my queen."
I love that.
Oh, it fits right in. Since I didn't have anything to dress up for this episode, I thought that this would be an appropriate mug because Kayla has a spicy topic for us that's really going to trigger the masses. I'm coining it the new F word. I'm probably not coining it, but the word is feminism, and I feel like it triggers everyone all the time. And I have soapboxes and rants to come, but Kayla's going to start us off with how this all began.
Yes, and you know what's funny? I never have things to wear, but this time I actually have something to wear. Look at my shirt.
It says female. Oh, and the L is a pistol. Pew, pew. Can you say that?
Oh, there you go. I think so. Yeah. Isn't that fun?
It's a
I love
Glock.
this shirt so much.
Probably. Where did you get that?
Online somewhere. Oh, shoot. I'll go back and try to find the merchant, and we can tag them because they're really nice. They sent me the wrong color. They sent me a pink one. Not my thing. And I messaged them, and they sent me the black one for free. So now I have two.
Well, if you're not gonna wear the pink one, I'll take it from you when I come over.
Okay.
And
hell yeah, you can take it.
And number 2, I don't have a cool female shirt, but I did bring my big hoop energy for this conversation.
I love it. Okay, so I'll set up how we got to the point of talking about this podcast. But before I say that, I just want to preface that I have no idea. You said you have rants because we have not talked about anything at all besides a few touch points. I don't know where we're both going to go. I don't know your direction, and I don't know. We're going to just play it by ear. So anyway, audience, have fun with that.
I think that's exactly why I've been nervous about this whole thing.
Well, Kaylee, even if we have different views, that's what the podcast is all about.
I don't think it's nerves that I think you're going to be mad at me. I think it's just anticipation of the surprise, because I also have no idea where this is going. And I think our last batch of episodes have been more like goofy fuck around, which I've loved, and they've been so fun, but they've been more, I knew where we were going. So now I'm just excited, and I'm also excited because this is one of my favorite topics of discussion.
Oh, well, we'll see where it goes. Hey, turkeys, real quick, we want to tell you about our fun new free craft corner. Every quarter, in line with the equinox or solstice, we are going to send out new farts and crafts projects. You can find the link in the show notes. Just drop us your email. We promise not to spam you, but we'd love for you to join us. Now back to the show. So feminism is the topic of discussion, but what prompted this was I was on YouTube, like always, looking at videos, and there was a guy, you know, those street interviews that are really popular. A guy was talking to a girl and basically asked, "Are you a feminist?" She was like, "Yeah." "Do you believe men and women should be equal?" She's like, "Of course." "Do you expect a man to pay for you on your first date?" She's like, "Well, duh." And then, of course, he goes, "Well, if you think men and women are equal, don't you think that you guys should split the bill on the first date?" So that spawned a whole conversation, which then turned into, if you're a woman in a relationship and you are making money, should the man expect some of that money? She's like, "No, what's mine is mine. Like, I'm a woman, I work hard for my money, like, that's my money." And then, of course, again, he flips the script and says, well, the money that your man makes, do you expect some of that money, him to pay for you, him to buy you things? And she's like, well, yeah, what's his is mine. Sorry. What's mine is mine, and what his is mine. And then the video cuts, and it's just obviously like cringy, but that's what spawned this whole conversation. So I'm curious what your take on that whole video, like what's your video reaction to that? I wish I had it so we could play it, but
Well, I'm kind of glad you don't, because I don't like her, and I think I feel guilty about shitting on people when we show their face. I don't mind talking about the archetypes of things, but it feels very specific to be like, she's
an idiot.
No, right there is annoying.
Yeah.
Should we start by answering the questions that he asked?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, are you a feminist? Which, for the folks out there, the definition is to believe men and women should be treated equally, right? Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that, well, maybe it's just because I have an obsession with language, but I feel
yes,
like it can be said the definition of feminism is to believe in the equality of all genders. Or to believe in equality of people regardless of their sex. That's probably a better way that I would like to say it.
Yeah.
I won't go into my full-blown rants and rages, but I just do think it's important. I do think it's important to point out that when I say, yes, I'm a feminist, the definition, I believe the true definition of feminism when they're saying equality is not saying sameness. And I think that equality means equal opportunity and equal ability to choose. So I think that's actually my starting soapbox, is just the definition itself, because I think a lot of people get hung up on equal meaning same, and it doesn't.
Yes, I agree with that.
So that's where I begin.
I'll bounce off of that real quick and just say, I know that people have very mixed feelings of, I don't even know if I want to say his name, but I have to give him credit for this. Jordan Peterson. I was just watching something in preparation for this, and to go off that, he was like, men and women aren't the same, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't be treated fairly. And like you said, have equal opportunity. So we're definitely on the same page with that.
I liked the way that it was written, and I'll make mention of it more further later along, but I like the concept of equality being equal access, equal opportunity, and I guess like mutual respect. That's that's where I like coming at it from, because if we were the same, our biology would be the same. But regardless of if you have an XY or an XX chromosome, there's going to be different characteristics that spawn from that. But I think that they should all be able to like enter a room and have their voice be heard. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, 1000%.
But also, you should have equal opportunity to be criticized if what you said is fucking dumb, which brings us back to this video.
Exactly. Yep. So I agree. So do you expect a man to pay for you on your first date?
I think this is interesting because I'm acutely aware of the power dynamic that sets up. And it didn't freak me out, but if I didn't know somebody, I didn't like setting myself up to feel like I owed someone. And I know that decent dudes don't look at it that way, but that was something that was kind of in the back of my mind. Now, that being said, when Jason and I started dating, he did pay for most of the time when we went out, and he also made significantly more money than me. So I don't know. To me, that's where it gets complicated, I think. I don't have a problem with men and women paying for things. On our first date, I bought our first round of beer. Half because he wasn't paying attention, but half because I kind of wanted to do that. So we each kind of paid for something. And again, it's just kind of me feeling I don't want to have this huge indebtedness that I owe, especially before I know someone well enough to know if that's something that they think, okay, well, I paid for dinner, so now you have to put out, because that's definitely a real dynamic.
Ew. Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't have a clear, solid answer for this. I don't think it's wrong or gross either way. I think it depends on the people and what they're comfortable with. And I think there's people aren't going to talk about it, but there's a lot of unspoken power dynamics. So if you're a girl and you're really hot and you're poor and a guy's rich and ugly, I mean, I think there's probably an equal exchange of benefit.
I feel that. I understand where that is coming from for sure.
Right?
I feel, yeah, it just depends on the people. I mean, for me, I would go into the situation expecting to pay for myself. I guess I wouldn't be expecting to be paid for. But if it happens, then I will be like, cool, he seems like a gentleman or whatever, like whatever the thought process would be. I'm like, okay, but I would never expect it on the first date.
I think that's how I feel. It's been a while, but I don't have the expectation. I don't have the expectation that they're going to pay. I would not be offended at all to split it. In fact, I think a lot of times I would jump ahead and be like 2 separate checks if the opportunity presented itself. Always I have money and the ability to pay.
Yes.
And get myself home. And yeah, I wouldn't be bothered at all. I would be bothered if he looked at me and said, "You got this."
Yeah, that would be a little off-putting, to be honest.
Or I forgot my wallet, or didn't have enough to cover the bill, or if his card got declined. But I think that's fair for me to say that, because I would not come to a date without the ability to pay for myself.
That's fair. Okay, so the last question to wrap up the video part is, she said, what's mine is mine and what's his is mine, which is totally unrealistic in my opinion. But thoughts?
I think it's so weird when people are dating and men give women money when they're dating.
Yeah, unless it's like a sugar daddy situation where they know that's the arrangement. I feel like it's right. Is that what you mean?
Well, I feel like there's some women when they're dating, like guys just give them money. Am I making this up?
What? I don't know. I've never.
Here's $100 for you to
go get your nails done.
Oh, yeah, or like go just get you some.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad about it. If you're in a relationship that has been active for a while, not active, like if you're in a solid, steady relationship for a period of time, that's different than in the beginning just throwing money, because then I feel like there's potentially harmful motives behind it. Maybe.
I think it's so weird. It just gets back to that power dynamic. I feel like it's weird. I think it's weird to expect random gifts and money and shit from people, but that is me I'm in the South. I'm so bothered by I'm a princess, I need to be taken care of thing.
Yeah, and I don't like that.
I find it so off-putting and gross. So
it's just like the first date thing
is dumb.
Yeah, like I don't expect it. Well, going back to your gift stuff, I don't expect you to throw me money, but if you're like, hey, whatever, I'll pay for this, I'm like, okay, sure, thanks. But yeah, I don't like it, especially if you're in a long-term relationship or, on a normal one. I don't think women should gatekeep their own finances, but expect to mooch off their man's. I just don't think that makes sense.
No, I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm woefully self-conscious about spending other people's money or letting them spend money on me. I mean, there was so long when we were dating where Jason would know, because he learned quickly that I will try to order the cheapest thing on the menu because it makes me uncomfortable. And so he'd be like, get whatever you want, knowing that I'm going to get the cheapest thing because I can't. And then he quickly learned that I was calibrating my order based on his order. So I would make him go first, and then I would either equal or lesser his price point. And I would drink equal or lesser to what his drinks were too.
Yep.
And I would constantly calculate the bill to make sure that it was even, or my bill was even a little bit less. He definitely figured this out. And for the longest time, I would ask him, what are you getting? Wait, first he would try to make me order first to get around this. And then when I refused, he started making up what he was getting and saying he was going to order something more expensive. And then I would order something more expensive, but he would actually just order a burger.
Oh, what a funny guy. That's smart. He just wanted you to order what you wanted. That's so funny.
But now that we're married, it's obviously different.
Mm-hmm.
I will also go back to saying for the long-term relationship part, this again goes back to giving and not gift giving, but for example, when we were dating, I would pack lunches for him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean this in an ugly fashion, but I don't think there's been a day that Jason has packed my lunch. I also don't know that I would want him to pack my lunch because I'm finicky and he probably wouldn't do it right. So there's unseen, unpaid labor that I think I put into our relationship. And very early on, I would cook dinners and, clean the house while he was gone and just do things because the way our schedules would line up. I know for the longest time, and even now that we're married, he hates folding his clothes and it doesn't bother me to do it. So I also think it has to do with an equal investment. And we have to remember to value our time, even though it doesn't have a dollar amount assigned. So I think you can have a really equal relationship that the money is spent differently or one person spends more money than the other. But again, in my case, when we were dating, I was still in college. So I was not making a lot of money at Starbucks. And I tried to invest equally to match kind of what he was paying and us going out and having fun and being entertained. I was trying to kind of put back into the relationship by doing shit around the house and making dinner and packing lunch and, like.
Someone in the comments is going to say, oh, so you just want your man to work so you can stay at home and be in the kitchen? You're spreading up. I don't know. I can just hear people saying that. But it's true. Like there is a cost benefit to your time and effort and then spending money. I understand that. I totally agree with what you're saying.
I think because I still think at the end of the day, I'm advocating for equality.
Yes.
But people just get hung up on a dollar amount. And I am never on the boat of buy me things, pamper me. I'm a queen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So on the note of the pay and equality, do you feel like there is a gender wage gap?
I don't feel smart enough to talk about it. I can tell you, I know, from the things that I've read, because to backpedal, I got really heavy into like feminist literature early in my 20s. But I don't think I have up-to-date information and I can't give stats. So, excuse me, it's hard for me to say a whole lot with a lot of authority, but I do remember it really standing out to me, excuse me again, when they were talking about just women in general in the workforce who are mothers, taking time off of work more often to stay home with kids because typically they were the ones that did, taking time for maternity leave, potentially taking a year off or 2 years off to take care of kids when they were young, and talking about how the fact that our, especially American society, doesn't do paid paternity leave in conjunction with maternity leave. It just tends to leave mothers more prone to taking on those duties and taking the time off of work, which has kind of the effect of missing work, potentially missing promotions, not getting involved in some of the bigger projects, or not involving yourself in bigger projects because you're trying to take more time at home. And I don't know I don't know. I think that there are cost benefit things that happen. I'm sure there are places where people have discretion of money where they pay men more. But I think there's a lot more nuance to the situation, you probably need to look at it case by case and company by company and then position by position, because it's hard to parse that out. And I also work for the federal government, so it's just not happening. I mean, our wages are based on years in service and education, and it's very cut and dry. So your PP and your vagina don't matter. So I haven't had to experience it either.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I agree that if you look at statistics, I think you can see that men do make more on average, but it's not me and a man at the same company, in the same role, at the same job, at the same time. There's not the difference there. It's like you said, women are, having to or choosing to take more time off because of kids, childcare, maternity leave. I also feel as though, not all the times, but I think what could play a factor in that is women tend to do roles like nursing or teaching or things that may not pay as much as a male-dominated industry like engineering and IT. I mean, there's wonderful women probably that are in that field, but men typically dominate those industries, whereas there's a lot of female-dominated industries, but those may not pay as much. Just like labor too, like laborious jobs. I don't want to do those. I don't want to go dig in the sewers. I don't want to be up in the electrical poles. But those things have to be done. And because it's such a strenuous job and it could be dangerous, I think you get paid more. So that's my stance on that.
Yeah. I think there's probably more. I can see there being more intentional differences in pay in business settings where it's discretionary. And I think misogyny comes into play in those settings when you have a man and a woman maybe both doing a job the same way, but sometimes aggression in men is seen as confidence versus that same level of aggression in women is viewed as being bitchy or nasty or is looked upon poorly. So I think some of those things probably come into play in locations where they have more of a say. I think a big one that I just thought about is that women are not typically taught to be as assertive. And I think we're more deferential a lot of times in the way that we were raised. And there's just something to men and
I know
egos, and they'll ask for more money. So
literally,
I think we have failed ourselves and each other by not asking for money and not being uncomfortable with that. I also, but that, I think that's where some of this can come into play too, where if a woman asks for more money, how is that viewed versus if a guy asks for more money?
Right.
And just the different confidence that comes with that. So I can see how there's gaps that are unfair in those types of situations, and how the way that we raise women or have raised women has created some of that as well. But I just don't think the statistics do a good job of parsing that out fairly.
Yeah. No, I think by nature, like women are more agreeable and more nurturing and caring, which are great traits. But I feel like, especially in, a business role where it's a woman and a man going for this promotion, you've seen it in the movies. Jessica, she didn't get the job because Bill likes Dan better, whatever. Because they're at the clubs, going to the strip club, and they bond, and I can't be a part of that. It's hard when those kind of situations come up. But again, to your point, I feel like women are raised differently. We have different personas by nature. So in especially a business type setting where unfortunately aggression is needed and or sometimes just can get the job done, I feel like that's why men do get up to the, higher positions in those businesses. Because they're just men. They've got testosterone. They've got better hormonal cycles, we've talked about this, we got 30-day cycles. We need some time to be quiet and relax, and we have times where we're like, power. Where men is just completely different. So I think that's an advantage for them, which we just have no control over. But this is not to say anything about, I'm all for women empowerment. I think women should ask for raises. I think you should go for it. You should go for the CEO job. But biologically, we don't have some of those traits. But you know what? Just identify as a he and maybe you'll get farther. Moving on. It was kind of a joke. I'm sorry.
Dude, it's just really, this is why I like talking about these conversations and these topics, because there's so many things going on.
Yes.
And everybody just has a hair trigger about all of these topics, and they all get really in their feelings about it. And it's just not that simple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's not.
I can't tell you how many times I feel like growing up, you just you get told implicitly and explicitly to be nice and to smooth things over. And I think some of that is just biologically, we understand that males are stronger than us typically because of testosterone. So I think this is me talking out of my ass, but to me, it makes sense that evolutionarily women would be more skilled at verbally de-escalating, because that we can out-talk somebody, because I can't out-arm them with my physical body. So I can see how those skills exist, and it's not necessarily that it's always dark and insidious. But I do also think as our generations progress, we've got to get better at teaching girls to speak up for themselves when they're young and encouraging those things. And that is where my whole feminist rampage came from when I was in my early 20s, was feeling like I was not being taken seriously and trying to find my voice and learn how to take up space. And I'm not shitting on my parents for the job that they did. I think that's just sort of our generation feels that way. And it's gotten better with every, coming generation. But I do feel like we could be better at encouraging that, and then be better at receiving that when you're the woman that's in an administrative role and a female approaches you and asks for a raise, to be mindful of your gut reaction, because you may have an initial reaction to her that you wouldn't to a guy, and just checking in. Yeah. And are you being weird? What are the qualifications? And we're all guilty of doing it. I mean, you and I have talked about this plenty of times. Like, I'm all about people expressing themselves, but I also would never marry like a mamby-pamby fluke around dude. Because that's not attractive to me.
Yeah. I feel as though women should be taught differently, so we don't have to deal as many maybe internal struggles with our confidence and speaking up and feeling like we're getting pushed in a corner. I do feel like there's circumstances where that does happen, and I'm not naive to the fact that there are some disadvantages. But overall, I would never say, you should give me a raise because there's a gender wage gap. I don't know. I feel like there's a bigger overarching picture that I disagree with, but there are definitely nuances that do happen and are true.
To me, it feels a lot like the gun violence issue. We're really hung up on this one thing, but we're not talking about the causal factors. Because I do think having a wage gap is a problem, but I don't think you address that problem by talking about and nitpicking people's finances. I mean, when there's egregious, obvious tit for tat differences within the same company, it's a different situation. But I think it's more worth people's time to talk about equal opportunity to education and training and teaching confidence to people in the workplace, and men and women having their fair shot at jobs and promotions. Talking about, if two people in a 2-income household are working and they're both working full time, is there an equal division of the labor in the home so that both people can be equally invested in their jobs? You know, there's all this other shit underneath that I think matters more than arguing over statistics that I don't even know where they come from.
But I heard a dog bark. Yeah, I agree. I know you have a rant or I don't know what you would want to call it, but I have one more quick question maybe we can touch on real quick. Do you think that professional women athletes should be paid the same as men?
I want to know who thinks that they should.
A lot of professional women athletes.
Well, but you're not getting paid as much because people aren't watching.
Exactly. If you're not generating the revenue because watching women play sports, I'm sorry, is boring as fuck, you're not going to get paid as much.
I've never understood this one.
I have very strong feelings about this.
If I'm making up arbitrary numbers because of social work math, but if a man generated $1 million from his playing and a woman generated $1 million, and in the case of the woman, the CEO took 50% and she was left with 500,000, and then the case of the man, the CEO took a quarter and he was left with 750,000, that would be ridiculous and obscene. But if you're going to be mad at somebody for women's sports not being paid the same amount of money, then you need to be mad at all the men and women who aren't watching women's sports, and I am one of them.
Well, right. If you're a woman mad about women not being paid more, then you go to the women's basketball games, go to watch the women's soccer games. Does anyone want to do that? No. Besides a few little tiny one-offs here and there, there's a few, really cool players that I would like, but 99.9% of the time, I will turn the channel to men's because they're better and more entertaining.
I mean, I don't think that sports networks care about anything other than money. So I think if Taylor Swift were a lesbian and dating a famous female soccer player, I think women's soccer would be aired on primetime television.
Yes.
And all the Swifties would probably boost their revenue. And if at that point they weren't paying them more money based on the additional income they were generating, then yes, that would be very fucked up. But I'm not watching anything other than the NFL. I don't know. I don't think that sports companies care about anything other than money.
Well,
or
and also
broadcasting networks.
Oh, I agree. And it's sad to say, and it's going to sound so harsh, but the WNBA, for example, they only are a league, and you are only able to be a professional basketball women's athlete because the NBA funds your league.
Oh,
that is the only reason why they are still active and on television.
They don't generate enough of their own income?
No, so they're mooching off the men. Sorry, you're not going to get paid as much.
That is really interesting.
Okay, that's my last tangent because I think that's kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I haven't understood that. Now, if you could show me that women athletes were being paid a percentage less than their male counterparts, like if you looked at what they were grossing or what income they were bringing in, and they were being paid less of a percentage than what the men were, then that would be annoying. And I'm sure like women's soccer makes significantly more money out overseas and other places, because soccer is just not all that popular in the US anyway.
Well, I think there was somebody that said that. No, women's soccer, they get paid a higher percentage out of the gross revenue they create, versus men's, they actually get paid lesser of a percentage of what they generate. However, it's more, but it's a lesser percentage. So it makes sense to me.
That one to me just feels like supply and demand. So if we want to change it, then we have to watch more women's sports. But it's not a hill I'm ready to die on. I don't watch that much sports anyway.
True.
Now, I will say that I get really excited about the female refs in the NFL.
That's cool. I'm here for that.
And if, I know they've had a few female kickers that were great in college. I When it comes to football and like football announcing, I don't think it's ridiculous that the people who are announcing are the people that used to play.
No, the one, I forgot her name. There is one or two that are the like reporters are. There's a lot of great ones. There's one good announcer. I think that's basketball though. Those are fine. I just don't want to watch you play. This women's soccer professional team that went to the Olympics got beat by, no, it was a scrimmage, but they got beat by a 15 and under men's team.
Oh, I heard
as
about
in
that.
like 14-year-old boys. I just think it's funny.
I heard about that.
It's funny.
I heard about that. Well, look, bro. I mean, I'm slower and shorter and less strong than men, so I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, that one never made sense to me. And I don't watch any sports other than football, and like women aren't typically playing professional football, so
yeah.
I get why the panels tend to be male dominated because they're players. But I think they've started doing a good job of hiring female broadcast people in those situations, kind of, because there has traditionally been another dude who didn't obviously play football or coach, who's just a talker. Who is that? I don't want to say his name in case I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't played. So I don't think there's anything weird about throwing in just a sports person in there amongst the midst of the other players for perspective and for kind of moderating the conversations. That doesn't chap my ass at all. I'm annoyed by people when it does. I am glad to see that they've started putting them behind the desk and letting them wear normal clothes instead of propping them up like a little titty doll for everyone to stare at, because that shit got on my nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the sports thing, I don't understand. This has been
that's
riveting.
I know. This was fun. See, it kind of went where I thought it was going to go. So we pretty much agreed on everything.
I know. I didn't think we were going to disagree. I know. Get so wrapped up about this topic. So wrapped up. I will tell you, the book that I loved that we'll link for people if they're interested is called Men Explain Things to Me. It's really just a collection of essays. The author's name is Rebecca Solnit. I can't find my copy because I gave it to a woman years ago because she wasn't standing up for herself. And I basically was like, please read this. And Rebecca Solnit in that essay is how the term mansplaining was coined. So anyway, that's where that came from. I'm going to read a couple of quotes from her book because I don't think I could say it better than her. Where is one? Oh, this one was one of my favorites. The opposite of misogyny is not misandry, it's equality. So feminism is not hating men and trying to tear men down. It's trying to equally lift everybody up.
I love that.
I loved. This was a great book for me to have stumbled upon in this phase because I was going through a very angry lady phase. And this was a good encouragement of taking up space and finding your voice, but raising yourself up, not trying to become equal by tearing other people down. Three more. I'll just read them. Men don't have to be experts to speak their minds. Women have to be experts just to be taken seriously. I feel like I have felt that. That really struck a chord with me. And I have felt that need to know more when you're in a male dominated field. I especially felt that at my last job. And I think some of that is just teaching ourselves how to push through that and then just continue, just operate through the discomfort instead of shying away. And eventually dudes are just going to get used to us being there. And then this won't have to be a discussion. The most radical thing a woman can do is believe in herself and her own worth. And then the last thing that she quoted that I quoted from her that I loved was, feminism is not the rejection of femininity. It is a celebration of it.
I like that.
Because this is really good. This gets to the heart of all of my rants on the topic of feminism, is for everybody that says that they don't like it. I don't think they know what they're talking about. I don't think they have the right definition of feminism. Yeah. I think it's that same Gandhi quote. love your Christ. I hate your Christians. They're nothing like your Christ. I think you have these ding dongs that take up the flag, and that's fine, but they're obnoxious, or they're bitter, or they're looking for revenge. And so they're just the loudest person in the room, but I don't think they're an actual representation of what the movement of feminism has really been and what it means. And we've talked 1,000 times about the pendulum and how things swing. And I've always said that you have to appreciate the extremes of the swing, because they're just making room for society to settle somewhere better. But I don't think you should ever stay on the extreme of any of those ends. But I also don't think we should get rid of them. Like, go over there and be insane. I'm just not going to join you. I can appreciate the function that you're serving. So I think that's part of it. I get really mad because now I could talk about this for so long. But when you started off, you had women that, like, women were property of men. Like, you gave complied consent to sex the day that you got married because you were married. So rape inside of a marriage was not a legal thing for an extremely long time. So, like, where we've started to where we've gotten has been huge. And so it's sort of, to me, when this new wave of women are coming out to say that they're hyper traditional and they submit to their husbands, and like, all of that's fine, but it bothers me when they shit on the feminist movement that gave them the ability to have that as a choice. Because I don't think you would be on social media. Fuck, you wouldn't be on social media because you wouldn't probably be allowed. Like, you got to pick that. So if it's good for you to stay home, if it's good for you to stay home in the context of the marriage that you have with your husband, that's wonderful. But don't take a dump on the women that fought for you to be able to wear pants in public, and for you to be able to vote, and for you to be able to call 911 and own property and own stocks and like apply for jobs and go to college and be on birth control until you were ready to have kids. I mean, there's all of these things that women have worked for, and men, to pave the way for you to have that choice. So I get really up in my feelings when women talk shit about it. I also get mad about the women who use feminism as an excuse to be hateful to men, because that's not the point. And then I think the other side of that movement, talking about equal opportunity and equal choice, no matter your sex, goes to also us raising our boys and nurturing and loving homes and teaching them that they can have feelings outside of anger, and making vulnerability okay for everybody. And I think that's the other side of the coin that people forget about all the time. And that's a huge piece of what the feminist movement has always advocated for. So I don't know. I think that's why I just have big feelings about it, because we're really lucky. And there's so many women in so many countries that don't have all the choice and opportunity that we have. So there's things that need to be better. But obviously, I can get really on soapboxes about, domestic violence laws and not having good protection for people in those types of situations, men and women. I have a great example from this area. Like, there was a man who was shot and killed by his wife, and there were numerous law enforcement agencies that had contact with him beforehand, and he had said that he was afraid and he was worried about his safety, and they blew him off because she's just a woman and you're a guy and you should be fine.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the thing too, is a lot of times when men are like, I'm a feminist, I feel like they're just trying to get laid, and it's annoying. Like, it's stupid virtue signaling shit. But for men to be annoyed or say they're anti-feminism pisses me off, because it's like, it's for you too. It's for, the point is just, the more voices and the more perspectives you have in a room, the better the outcome is going to be, because you are less likely to have tunnel vision. And then it goes back to how we started this whole conversation. As a woman, you should have the same opportunity to show up in the boardroom, and that also means you should have the same opportunity to be criticized. So have a good idea, and you should also be equally held accountable. Like, I don't think that it should make you this little bubble person that no one can say anything to, because that's also garbage.
Yes. It's a pendulum. We have to find the middle. We started off way the fuck that way with nothing. Worked so hard, and then we've taken it a little too far, and demeaning to men, and just demoralizing them in that way, and just asking to not be criticized. I think, like you said, we need to find a middle ground between men and women where we can work towards having equal opportunity in all aspects. Criticism, jobs, the same thing we've always been saying.
Yeah, like care and concern. And I do think, biologically, girls and boys are really not that different before puberty. Like, the whole, like, you can rough them around. I'm like, if your kid's personality likes that, but your 4-year-old boy and your 4-year-old girl, there's probably not a whole lot of difference in their physical abilities to sustain things. The T isn't like kicking in until their nuts drop. So some of that stuff drives me insane, where it's like, if your son is hurt and he's crying, like, be as nice to him as you would be to your daughter at the same age. And also teach your daughters to be tough and to be resilient, like all of it. Just can we just have like whole, well-rounded humans?
It goes both ways.
That's the goal all the way around. Stop making your daughters your princess, and stop trying to make your boys little dirt demons. And some are. My nephew's insane. He keeps sand in his pockets all the time, I think. But, I also try to scoop him up and give him a hug and talk to him when he's here, too, because he also deserves to have warm, fuzzy time. His personality is not probably super into that compared to other people that I know. But I also know little girls who don't want to be touched either. I don't know. That's a whole other sidebar. But for all of the men who get in their feelings about the word feminism, I think they just need to take it down 15 notches. I think the ones that are really vocal about it are the ones who just want a woman to touch their pee-pee and she won't. And I think women need to stop using feminism as an excuse to hate on men and go deal with their childhood trauma. And at the end of the day, we just need to hold each other accountable and respect each other, and then just do better.
Bingo.
There you go.
Well, that was fun.
I know, it was so fun. I feel like, there's just so many rabbit holes. I just have one other thing to say. I don't know why people are saying that their jobs should pay for their feminine products.
It's interesting.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Someone can correct me if they want, but I think it's stupid that there's sales tax on that. I mean, tampons and pads aren't luxury items the last time I checked, so
yeah,
it'd be cool if you could like get that with your insurance, or
that would be a better solution.
Can you use your health savings account money on that?
I don't know. Probably.
I'm sure better be able to.
Yeah.
But I saw that I saw some girl on Instagram probably just trying to get likes of how it wouldn't cost that much for them to pay for my tampons. I'm like, well,
yeah, that's true. That's weird.
Yeah, but it's like $4. It doesn't cost that much for you to pay for your tampons. Okay, anyway. And on that note, I think that's it for the day.
Happy gender topics. I don't know. Yep. 'Tis fun. See you later, Queen.
And I love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.